Hello, what?
Have you ever heard of the madman who on a bright morning lighted a lantern and ran into the marketplace calling out unceasingly, "I seek God! I seek God!" As there were many people standing about who did not believe in God, he caused a great deal of amusement. "Why? Is he lost?" said one. "Has he strayed away like a child?" said another. "Or does he keep himself hidden? Is he afraid of us? Has he taken a sea voyage? Has he emigrated?" The people cried out laughingly, all in a hubbub. The insane man jumped into their midst and transfixed them with his glances. "Where has God gone?" he called out. "I mean to tell you, we have killed him, you and I. We are all his murderers. But how have we done it? How were we able to drink up the sea? Who gave us a sponge to wipe away the whole horizon? What did we do when we loosened this earth from its sun? Whither does it now move? Whither do we move? Away from all suns? Do we not dash on unceasingly? Backwards, sideways, forwards, in all directions? Is there still an above and below? Do we not stray as through an infinite nothingness? Does not empty space breathe upon us? Has it not become colder? Does not night come on continually, darker and darker? Shall we not have to light lanterns in the morning? Do we not hear the noise of the gravediggers who are burying gods? Do we not smell the divine putrefaction? For even gods putrefy. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we console ourselves? The most murderous of all murderers, the holiest and the mightiest that the world has hitherto possessed, has bled to death under our knife. Who will wipe the blood from us? With what water shall we cleanse ourselves? What lustrums, what sacred games shall we have to devise? Is not the magnitude of this deed too great for us? Shall we not ourselves have to become gods merely to seem worthy of it? There never was a greater event. On account of it, all who are born after us belong to a higher history than any history hitherto.
How are we able to drink up the sea? How shall we console ourselves? The most murderous of all murderers.
In verse 4, Jeremiah chapter 29, this passage right here blew my mind. This is what the Lord of Heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says to all the captives he has exiled to Babylon from Jerusalem. Build homes and plan to stay, my property. Plant gardens and eat the food they produce. Create businesses that will sustain you. Think generationally. Marry and have children. Then find spouses for them so that you may have many grandchildren. Multiply and do not dwindle away. And this is the hardest one. Verse 7. And this is, I think, a word for where we are as a climate. Come on, brother. Verse 7. And work for the peace and prosperity of the city where I sent you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, for its welfare will determine your welfare. And I read that and I said, man, if we live that right now, let's just say it is the worst possible scenario. Let's say there's an agenda they're coming for us, and America's the new Babylon, and like this is it. The command is still this: seek the peace and prosperity of the city which I've called you into exile. Seek the peace and prosperity. If we sought the peace and prosperity of the times that we're living in, the places God has called us, right? I think we will best serve the greater community, our local communities, our families, and I think people will be persuaded to maybe not instantly surrender their lives to Jesus, but to say, I like those Christians. Right.
Because when you have people grow up in a place where we say, well, everybody's Christian because the empire's Christian. Everybody's Christian because we pray before this, because prayer is in our school system. And so when you begin to remove some of those things, you begin to say, we stop being Christian. But being Christian isn't a culture.
Right. Right.
Being Christian is based on regeneration by faith alone, through grace alone, through Christ alone.
Right. Come on.
And so now, I think cultural resistance is the best thing for Christianity.
What makes my story special as a Christian is not that I was always good, was that Jesus saved me when I was wicked.
Yes.
I gotta tell you the wicked parts so you can appreciate what Jesus has done for me.
Say that.
So I have to tell you what America is doing so I can then say, this is what the Christians were doing in the middle of it. So you can look through all of church history. And everywhere you will look, you will see misfits and mayhem. But you will always see a counter testimony. And that counter testimony allows me to stay Christian. And so what I'm saying right now is that 20, 30 years from now, when my kids look back on 2020 or 2016 or say, where were the Christians? I want to say to my son, here's reading while black. We have to be the ones who are testifying, even when the testimony is against other Christians. And so we have to learn how to tell the story of Christianity as that testimony. And too often we're caught up in this myth of the church's innocence because we think we can only be Christian if the church wins every fight.
Right.
But sometimes we have to be honest that we failed.
Wow.
And that's okay because the blood is sufficient to cover that failure.
Yeah, that's powerful.